weather. It's actually very beautiful today. But I just briefly wanted to talk to you guys about the daily assigned reading, which was 2 Samuel chapters 4 through 6. And I want to specifically talk about 3 different moments in chapter 6. So what I wanted to kind of bring our attention to is that there were 3 moments in that chapter where you see anger. The first moment is the anger that the Lord had. So when Uzzah basically tried to save the ark from falling down, it caused the Lord to have anger in that moment, to be furious with him. And when you first read that, you can think, but why? He was trying to fix it. But what we have to understand is that Uzzah disregarded God's command in that moment. So that kind of reminds us that, our actions matter. So he did what was right in his own sight, but not what was right in the sight of the Lord. The ark was holy. No one was supposed to touch that. It was something that was touched by God, and so man could not defile that. And it's important to remember in that moment that it wasn't unreasonable for the Lord to be upset with Uzzah, because he did something in that moment that he thought was right, but it wasn't right in the Lord's eyes. And that had been very clearly told to the people in Numbers 4:15 that no one was to touch that. Secondly, you see anger from David. So David was upset once he saw that the Lord had killed Uzzah because of his basically disobedience. And a lot of David's anger there was based in confusion. God, why would you kill this man who was trying to save the ark? But what you have to understand is that even though he didn't understand why Uzzah's intentions, his good intentions, weren't enough, we have to understand that God cares about our intentions and our actions. And what Uzzah did was against the will of the Lord, and it was against his law. It was against what God had said specifically to do. And the third time you see anger is from Michal. And you see that she had anger against David. And it went even farther than just simply her being angry with him. It said that she despised him in her heart. And so she was angry, I think, from a place of jealousy. And it even is in her response to David when she said, "You were dancing even before the servants." And so it was a moment of jealousy, I think, at least from a woman's perspective. I believe that a part of her anger was, one, she thought that he should have treated himself better and not, I guess, put himself in such a way before people who were below him. That was one thing she felt. 2, it could have also been that she was upset with him for exposing himself in such a way. He wasn't completely naked or anything, but to her it was naked enough. And then you can also see in that moment that her sarcasm could have really affected David. But instead, he just stood up to her and he said, "No, what I was doing was not for you. It was not for me. It was for the Lord." And he had humbly danced before God with all of his might, because he was not doing it for himself. He was doing it for the Lord. And so it didn't bother him that before even the servants, he appeared humble before God. In fact, that was a beautiful moment. So you can also, as you read, you can see that there were definitely some repercussions to her showing her anger towards David, which I'll allow you guys to read that. But I just want to briefly summarize this and get to, I guess, the part that I really wanted to say to you, which is that we cannot allow our anger to become rooted inside of our hearts, because that is when the enemy will have a foothold and he will have an opportunity to do something. And we don't want that. And the Bible is pretty clear. I'm going to read a few scripture verses. It's James chapter 1, verse 20. "My dear brothers and sisters, understand this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. For human anger does not accomplish God's righteousness." Ephesians 4:26, "Be angry and do not sin. Don't let the sun go down on your anger." And 27 says, "And don't give the devil an opportunity." In Proverbs 29:11, it says, "A short-sighted fool always loses his temper and displays his anger. But a wise man uses self-control and holds it back." So don't allow anger to become that stumbling block or a foothold for the enemy. We have got to be better than that. And although in those moments when we feel anger, we have to remember, is this an anger from the Lord? Is this something that that would honor him, or is this something that is in my flesh, that's pride, that's potentially going to be rooted in something that's not of God? I hope that we can see this together, that we can read this together, that we can be challenged by this together, that we can walk in love, and that we can use self-control to not express the wrong kind of anger in our lives.